Do you use an LMS, a learning management system? If you do, then you may or may not be using it correctly. I'm Rick Zanotti with Lectora Live, and I'd like to talk today a little bit about how to use your learning management system and your courses to make sense for the end user. One of the complaints I hear all the time is that learning management systems are hard to read. Our courses have such huge learning objectives that I don't feel like I'm learning anything. So how do you fix that? Well, here's a couple of things. 1, make your LMS your course menu. Too many people create 1 hour, 2 hour courses. Those are way too long. One whole course, 1 hour, 2 hours. Too long. People don't learn in huge chunks. They learn in smaller chunks. That's been proven by research over and over and over again. Our memory retention, our attention span are all better with shorter amounts of patterns. Remember, when people say, I'm overloaded, I'm overwhelmed, that usually means they've got too much sensory input. Everything that comes at you, what goes in your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, your touch, all of those are sensory inputs. Every one of those senses is transferred or transformed into beats, zeros and ones, just like a computer basically. Whether you watch through your eyes, your ears, your mouth, it's all being inputted the same way. So the more input you have, the more sensory input you have, the harder it is for you to learn the things you need to learn. It's too much. So how do you fix that with a learning management system? Well, for one, rather than create a large course with 1 million learning objectives, keep your learning objectives small. I call it slow. Simple learning objectives work. And by simple, I mean small. Keep them simple. Don't have 20, 30, 40 learning objectives. By the time people have hit 10 or 11, they're going, oh my gosh, I've got to learn all that in 30 minutes. And they can't. It's too much. So make sure that you keep your learning objectives small. Use the LMS, your dear beloved LMS that everybody absolutely loves. Keep your learning management system objectives small. When you create a course, let's say you're doing a 1 hour compliance course, which is a long one. Make that course into maybe 6 or 10 pieces. So in other words, rather than a 1 hour long course, create 6 10-minute pieces or 10 6-minute pieces. Keep your SCOs, your shareable content objects, small. So you have your course, and then you have your content objects underneath it. What that does is now they're taking a learning objective per content object versus all at once. Now you may say, well, Rick, I got bookmarking on my LMS. I don't need to do that. And you'd be right, but you'd also be wrong. Because bookmarking doesn't work all the time. In fact, it doesn't work a lot of the time. In some companies, it never works. So you have to be careful with bookmarking because bookmarking relies on latency to work correctly. The longer it takes for your database to update a bookmark, the more chance you have of losing that bookmark. And then you come back next day and go, I only have an hour to go in my 2 hour course? No, because there's no bookmarking. You're back at the beginning. You're ticked off. You call someone and they may or may not give it to you. What do? You're stuck because bookmarking is a pain. If you have smaller lessons or SCOs, now you don't need to bookmark. If you can't finish a 3 to 6 minute piece, well, you probably shouldn't be taking that piece anyway. You're too slow. Seriously, that's a problem. Make sure you make your lessons smaller. Use your learning management system for what it was designed to do. Don't launch 1 and 2 hour mega gorilla courses. They're too big. Your learners won't learn. They're just going to go through it and they'll hate you for it. You don't want to be hated, you want to be loved. An LMS administrator who's loved is a rare thing in today's day and age. So make sure that you make your courses small. Another thing to do is, on your learning objectives, like I said, don't make huge 20, 30, 40-point learning objectives. Sensory overload, I got too much coming in, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it, I'm done. You're turning the user off the learner immediately. Don't do that. That's bad for them. Turn people off when time. Don't turn them off at all. Make sure that they get what they need in a way that they learn from it. Too much of the learning today in corporations, is done to just do a check off. Okay, I've done it, 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 I've done it. Rather than I've learned, I can produce better, I can understand that, I can produce better, I'm safer, blah, blah, blah. Indemnification is not learning. Just keep that in mind. When you indemnify the company, that doesn't mean your employees have learned. And it's also something that the legal system is figuring out. So don't just indemnify, but teach. Make sure people understand what they're going through. You will have better employees. Now, Trivantis has CourseMill, which is a wonderful LMS. It works really well. I've worked on probably 15 or 20 LMSs in my career over the last 20-something years in the e-learning industry. And I've had some good ones, some bad ones. Trivantis's CourseMill is actually one of my favorites. And I don't say that because I'm doing this podcast. It's actually a good one. It's clean, simple, works, and has a lot of power. It also has one of the best analytic report writers in the industry. That alone worth the price of admission. It allows you to create your courses the way you want. Another thing you need to keep in mind, if your learning management system tracks no information other than name, rank, serial number, and did you pass or complete or fail a course, or complete, incomplete, that's not really going to give you what you may need in order to find out if your learning, your training is good. So use your learning management system for analytics as well. Make sure your learning manager system has reporting built into it, or a report writer attached to it that allows you to report on the custom fields you create, on the data you amass from the assessments that you give people. So let's say you do one course that let's say it's a new hire orientation. Everybody has to take it. Well, after they all take it, you can run reports and figure out what questions they get and which ones didn't they get. If you get a lot of people, a majority, not getting a question, maybe there's a problem with that question or the way that the content is being taught. That's an opportunity to make it better. So keep those things in mind. I have now talked probably over 5 minutes, so I have broken my rule of short content. So we want to keep our content small, learning objectives short, your courses short, and the amount of curriculum people take as small as possible. Remember, you're not there to overwhelm them. You are there to help them be more productive, to learn, and to help the company do the right thing. For Lectora Live, I'm Rick Zanotti. If you have any questions, please subscribe to the podcast. Put your comments below. Love to hear from you. We will answer all of the comments we get, and let us know what you think. Give us your best practices, and we'll talk about that on the next show. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks.